Hey everybody, it's Charlie from Daily Motor, and I've been spending the last week with the 2022 Toyota Sienna. This thing is missing a lot of options that other minivans have. It's expensive at $55,000, and it's got a face only a mother could love. But it is one of my top 2 minivan choices here in 2022. For those of you who don't know, when this generation of Sienna came out, it went hybrid only, so you can only get it with one powertrain. It's a 4-cylinder, made it up to a battery, some electric motors, one in the front and one in the rear, in this case being the all-wheel drive model. And what that does is that gives it excellent fuel economy in all different sorts of driving, whether you're driving it easy in the city, whether you're driving on the highway. This thing gets amazing fuel economy numbers for the size of vehicle. I've been getting over 30 miles per gallon regardless of how I drive, and on our highway fuel economy testing, we saw, 32 or 33 miles per gallon? I don't know. Check the link in the description for the official number. I feel like it was 33 miles per gallon, which again, for a vehicle that can hold this many people, it's impressive. It really is. And I really appreciate that, because at the end of the day, a minivan is about maximizing your utility. You want the most people moving space. You want the most ability of your vehicle in one thing, in one car, and getting better fuel economy just makes that even better in my eyes. I'm going to point out some of the things I've liked and not liked having the van for this time, and some of the things I think are cool. You've got 2 wall plugs, normal style wall outlets, and look at that, 1,500 watts. That's probably the most I've ever seen in a car outside of something like Ford's plug-in hybrid truck or something like that. But that means you could power a whole lot of stuff up there and back here. Gaming systems, TVs, coolers, and hair dryer even if you needed to, which I think is really neat. I don't really love how these seats don't fold perfectly flat. It's not like the Pacifica where you could lay back here and have a nice smooth load surface, but they are very easy to maneuver. Pull that up, and then just like that, you've got a nice third row. Oh, what's going on here? Now see, because that seat's moved all the way back, this seat can't actually move up into position, so that's good to know. And this is kind of neat. I didn't really realize the purpose of this when we first got the car. But then I went to the grocery store and found out that it's actually quite useful. It's some sort of stuff net, if you will, but it adds to the utility of your vehicle, adds space for places to put, adds some flowers and some wine, and I put them in here, and it just stabilized the bag and kind of held it like that for the whole drive, which I thought was pretty darn useful. Platinum trim, so you're getting all the bells and whistles Toyota offers with the Sienna, so no surprise, power doors, all that good stuff. You can see some seat recline here, so I guess we'll start off with the second row as it's already set up like this. Let's see if I get in, shut this windy door. If the third row did not need to be used, look at all this legroom I can get. Put that up, I can recline myself back. And this is practically limo riding, so if you're only going 4 deep in the Sienna and you don't need a whole bunch of rear third row room, this is a good way to be set up. I like the sunshades. I like having windows that go up and down in the second row. That's pretty neat. Cup holders abound. Got another one of those wall style outlets, USB-A and USB-C. HDMI input for the quite large video screen that goes up there. Climate controls for the second and third row combined, and air vents right here, which I know are important for many parents, keeping air conditioning on their chillins, or heat, I suppose. But AC is probably more important. Get this third row down properly. Nathan wasn't super keen on these seats. I don't particularly understand why. I think for a third row, they seem plenty fine. You've got little sunshades back in the third row, which I think is kind of neat. A little headphone jack for up there. And on that side, you have another USB-A and USB-C. 3 seats back here. Yeah, adults might not want to be here for a really long time, but as you can see with that seat in a pretty normal position, I've got a good amount of legroom, and I could be back here for a while. Also, again, air vents. I find that important. Quick side note: check out this remote control. Leave it to Toyota to have such a simple looking remote. I mean, it works. I guess I shouldn't be hating or anything, but it looks kind of out of place. No need to look at the engine. All you need to know is it works and it motivates this van. I'm gonna get some heat going here. Let you hopefully take a good look at this very interesting front layout. Fan down, heat up. Engine comes on there. This is how I usually drive the car. I go to menu, info, and eco, because I like to see where my power's going. So right now you can see the engine is filling up the battery, but it's really running so that it can make heat. But anyway, back to this big center console layout. You got a very fake looking, it's hardly even a wood grain, just kind of a pinstripe looking pattern, very plasticky feeling, but it is effective, and I don't think it's going to scratch too bad, unlike piano black wood. This under storage compartment is really impressive. It goes very deep, and Alyssa and I had her purse and another bag right next to each other there. I think a lot of parents are going to find that really useful, and I like that it's grippy. Wireless device charger up there, a USB-A for data, some extra cup holders right here, as well as a nifty place to put your phone, and a big old center storage well, USB-A and C. Speaking of the phone, let me just show you here. So many places to put it. You can put devices right there, you can put them right there, or again, on the wireless device charger. I know Toyota likes to stick to pretty conventional stuff, so I'm not too surprised to see a big old shifter here, but this could easily be turned into some sort of button apparatus, and then you could have even more space here, maybe another cup holder or some larger, I don't know, you could just do something with this, but at least it doesn't have the sideways ratchet sort of shifter design that a lot of other Toyotas had. In this top level trim, you've got heated and cooled seats and a heated steering wheel. Small petty complaint of mine, the heated steering wheel is only heated on the sides right here, so the top and the bottom still cold. Super minor, but it's just one of those things. You drive so many cars, you notice those little things. I do really appreciate, I feel like it needs to be said, the good physical controls on a car like this. You've got your HVAC, all very easy to see, use, and control. And then up here, a real volume knob, real media controls. The screen is getting pretty dated. At the end, we'll do kind of a backup camera test, and I'll show you how low res that camera is. And again, once you're talking about a $55,000 car here, you're kind of like, is that really what I want to be looking at every time I back up the car? That's the thing with Toyotas, is they're always a bit behind the curve when it comes to interior technology, but that means they execute it really well. It's kind of like Apple in that way. And that kind of behind the curve mentality comes into sort of who the Sienna should be for and who it should not be for. The Sienna is really going to appeal to someone who's going to put a lot of miles on this car, who doesn't care about the vehicle they're driving. The main points of having a car like this are to complement your lifestyle, allow you to live your life, and you don't want to be spending money on the car, on repairs or fuel as little as possible. You just need to get your family around, you want them to be safe, you want it to just be an effective, efficient mode of transportation. That's what the Sienna does really well. Yeah, you're not going to get as cool of an interior as the Carnival or a Pinnacle Pacifica. You're not going to get things like the cabin talk and the fam cam where you can look back into the rear seats. And you still are going to pay a price that's very close, if not more, than a lot of those competitors' cars. And on paper, you might be looking, the Carnival has a much longer warranty, and you get more features, and hey, Pacifica, it looks much nicer, and you got these beautiful quilted leather pillows in the back, much better screens, and all these gimmicks. And that's totally true. If those things are important to you in a vehicle and in something like your family hauler, the Sienna is not going to be for you. I'm just going to tell you right now. You're going to have things like a panoramic roof. You're really missing a lot of the features list on this van. But what it excels in is being the most efficient and effective mode of transportation that you could get for a large family. You're going to be able to get 30 miles per gallon driving all around in mixed conditions. This thing is plenty fast enough for you. You can see I didn't even think to squeal it around oversteer there or coming into guardrail, because that's not how you expect to drive a car like this. It just encourages you to get comfortable, to set your steering position with the power adjusted steering column and the four-way lumbar, and settle in and do family, do life. Don't worry about your car. That's what the Sienna does really well. And that's why I put the Sienna in my top two favorite minivans, this and the Chrysler Pacifica. If I were going to own a car for more than 5 years, if I were going to put a lot of miles on it, it'd be the Sienna over the Pacifica any day of the week. I love Chrysler. I love this Pacifica. For those of you who don't know, I own Chrysler Town & Country, but I don't trust them as much, not only with general reliability, but all the technology that's in there as well. I mean, do you think something's going to go wrong with this screen? Your chances are pretty darn low because they've probably been using the same exact infotainment system for the last 5 years on just about every model they pump out. Chrysler, you've got an excellent Uconnect 5 system, beautiful looking touchscreen, tons of features, but that means you're more on the bleeding edge of technology and there's a higher chance of something going wrong. Then on top of that, you've got potential powertrain issues, the quality control. I'm sorry, all of you fans of American cars, it's just not the same as a Toyota. When you're talking about a bread and butter model like the Sienna, so many loyal customers coming back time and time again, high socioeconomic customers, a lot of times the transaction prices on Siennas are higher than a lot of other models that Toyota makes. They know they can't screw a model like this up, so everything's going to be built really well thought out. It's just, if you want to be smart with your money for a long period of time with a car, Sienna's the way you got to go. But for a lot of people, you really can't ignore everything you're giving up. You're giving up a lot of that fancy new car feeling. I mean, a lot of the things in this car you could get on other vehicles that came out 5 years ago. The materials aren't going to feel as fancy. It doesn't look as cool inside. It doesn't drive as well as an Odyssey. It doesn't have that road presence of a Carnival. So there are things that a lot of other minivans on the market do better. But for the practical sort of person, it's got to be Sienna. Foot to the floor with this hybrid powertrain, you can see still got a decent amount of power to get up to speed. Set our radar adaptive cruise control. Get a pretty darn rudimentary active lane keeping. It's just enough to kind of nudge you back into your lane. It's not going to follow the lines, if you will, on its own. It's not a semi-autonomous driving like some of the other cars have. There's more wind noise in the Sienna than I would like. Even if I close this, it helps a little bit, but that's definitely the loudest part of being on the highway in the Sienna is the wind noise. And I'm kind of surprised with a sleek aerodynamic design like this, they couldn't have dampened that a bit. But other than that, it's fine on a highway. I cruised on the highway fuel economy test. Perfectly comfortable the whole time. Nice armrests. It's just a good place to be. I should also point out on our live drive, we had Alyssa drive this, and she was immediately comfortable as well. She's about 5'1", and she was able to get her seat up properly, steering wheel in a nice comfortable position, and she liked how the hood sloped right down, and she was able to see around her pretty darn well. That's important, I think, for someone of smaller size like that to be able to be comfortable in a vehicle. There are cars like the Hyundai Palisade that I expected her to be comfortable in that she was not. So it's good to kind of know what works for her, what works for a smaller, motherly type figure, if you will, someone who's probably going to be a primary buyer for a car like this. Getting to our core daily motor values and how we evaluate a car. 1, how is it to drive? Fairly forgettable. It's pretty numb. The steering's a little light. It's a van. It's a people mover. It's not supposed to be inspiring. It definitely doesn't have the vibe of something like an Odyssey. Even the Pacifica has a little bit better chassis and a little bit more exciting motor. But I do like being able to see where all my power is going. You do technically have all-wheel drive, which is a big plus for a lot of people, even if it's just kind of a slower speed, electric-only all-wheel drive. It's still helpful. How would it be to own? The Sienna scores really well in that category. This would be a very easy vehicle to own, a very satisfying vehicle to own when you're able to transport your family and even tow up to 3,500 pounds, which I should mention. Very cool for a car like this. You can do all sorts of things like that and still be getting great fuel economy for the size of vehicle. That is a huge plus, and your maintenance is going to be super simple. Your dealership experience is probably going to be pretty decent with Toyota. It's going to be a great car to own, definitely. And how well does it deliver on its purpose? That is another way I think the Sienna does really well. The purpose of this vehicle is to be a no-nonsense, very practical people mover, and it does that. It's easy to get in and out of. That's one thing I didn't like about the Carnival is in the top trim, it was very difficult to get into the third row. Not the case here with the Sienna. Everything's easy to do, straightforward, easy controls, lots of space, and decent efficiency. So the Sienna scores very, very well in achieving its purpose and how it would be to live with. How it is to drive, yeah, it's not super impressive, but hey, it's a van. Some people might not like that graininess of this 2.5-liter engine as you get up to speed. That is one of the downsides of this Toyota powertrain. You see this 2.5-liter hybrid powertrain in a lot of cars, and yeah, even naturally aspirated, the 2.5-liter inline four, it's gotta work. It's gotta ring out a bit and make some clattery noise to build power, but I'm willing to overlook that as well. Look at that, getting up to speed, electric only. Throttle tuning is pretty good in this car. Because it is a CVT, it's nice, smooth power delivery pretty much everywhere. When the engine kicks in, very smooth. Toyota really has their hybrid powertrains down to a science at this point. Here it is, the Toyota Sienna. Fill it with children, diaper bags, and strollers. Go live your life and don't worry about paying at the pump as much or keeping this thing on the road, because it's going to be running for a long time. Let's take a quick look at that backup camera. You can see pretty darn low res. I do appreciate the 360 cam. That makes it quite a bit easier to make sure you're positioned properly in the lines in a parking spot. And you've got this feature where if you press that view camera button, I guess maybe you got to be not in reverse, press that, and then you get this sort of 360 look around. Make sure none of your kids' toys are there or any animals sleeping or something. You can click it like that too and kind of see an inside out view. That's pretty neat. Well, thank you all so much for watching. If you do want to see more on the Sienna, check the links in the description. We've got a little first drive review from last year, as well as a JBL sound system test and 2 highway fuel economy tests. Put the links to all those in the description, and we'll see you on the next one. I'm Charlie from Daily Motor, and as always, drive on.